But none of those people are who he is. He's getting reinforced for these masks, for these characters, for these roles. It's still the underlying human underneath is he's rejecting that human because that human was rejected. So it's better to get accepted for this mask than to get rejected for who he really is.
Some of my clients who come from other therapists, they come to me and they say, our previous couple therapists told us that we should be separating, but we are giving it another chance.
Their willingness to want to make this relationship not just work, but actually thrive, right? So I praise them for surviving that and still being willing to work on the relationship. People, when they come in for couples therapy, they're coming in when they're already in crisis.
Our life and our meaning, to a large extent, is we are relational beings. We cannot exist in isolation.
Absolutely. Love might not be able to fix things, but love will create a determination to repair whatever is not working.
Welcome to the Overwhelming But in a Good Way podcast. Welcome back, Ophir. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, Ophir. I'm doing good. We have been able to reach out to a lot more people through our podcast, so that's something to be proud or happy about. How are you feeling about that?
Good. More the merrier.
When some of my couples and some of my individual clients, when they come to me, when the trauma and everything is to a large extent resolved, they sometimes get into this existential crisis. So I want to start today's podcast by asking you a question around that aspect. As a therapist, many people spend their life searching for success, happiness, or a sense of purpose. As a therapist, what do you think truly creates a meaning or a purpose in a person's life?
Well, you mean other than having us match each other's glasses? Because I felt like you're the only kind of four-eyed last time. I thought I'd catch up with you and wear my glasses this time.
Looks good.
Thank you. Thank you. What do I think provides purpose and meaning in life?
Yeah.
I can really only answer, I think, for myself.
Mm-hmm.
You said that once your clients have already reached a place of some healing, this is an existential place that they might go to.
Yes.
I think it's a good question to ask. For me, whether it's for my own life or for from a counselor's perspective, I think that meaning can really only come out of a place of connecting to your own experience and seeing what works for your body and for your own like the way that your consciousness, so to speak, responds to that. And by that I just mean you have to try things. So sometimes people think, well, let me read all the books on a particular topic, or let me think through something and then I can arrive at some kind of decision, right? I think instead of thinking of like, oh, I've got the meaning, the answers are already inside of you. You've done things throughout your life that have already fulfilled you in some way or another, right? And I guess that maybe career tests that get people to look at themselves are maybe trying to grasp at that. But instead of this overarching, it's like searching for a soulmate, or this I'm going to get this eureka answer, and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Think of like, well, what's already giving you fulfillment? If you're playing an instrument, or you're spending time with your kids and getting fulfillment from that, you can ask yourself, what is it about those activities that they give me meaning or they give me purpose? I'm just trying to move away from like the language of, the day of the word purpose or passion, or and instead, do more of what already gives you fulfillment. I like that word fulfillment because like it's filling you up, right? So if you can spend more of your time doing that, you're not going to be asking yourself the question of what is my purpose, because you're not going to be getting into existential crisis, because you're already feeling like I have the answer because I'm doing it. That's sort of my take on it.
What is your purpose in life, or what brings you fulfillment?
That's a better question. See, like, what is your purpose? Meaning it has to be one thing, right? I don't think it has to be one thing. So I love spending time with my kids.
Yeah.
You know, I love talking to you. I love being present.
Yeah.
I love working with my couples. I love moving my body in different ways. I like challenging myself.
Mhm.
Each of those is my purpose, like all collectively in an integrated way. Um, if I'm feeling good, if my body's saying to me in the morning, like I'm excited to get out of bed, um, at the end of the night, like I had a really good day, I challenged myself.
This is gratitude.
It's a good day. It's a good day and it's a good life, right? Um, if that's not happening, if I'm feeling off or whatever, then I can look at like what's happening there. What is my body signaling to me that I should be, changing or looking at or processing or what have you. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question along those lines? So let's say you're on your deathbed. You're 90, 95, 100 years old, and you're turning back. What is that one thing that if you don't accomplish, you think there will be a sense of regret?
Moses was born and died on the same day on his 120th birthday. So I'll go for that. What is something that I wish I accomplished on my deathbed, or that I'm like focused that I didn't accomplish?
When you turn back, let's say today you're in your 120th birthday or on your deathbed, and you're turning back.
Yeah.
And there's this one thing that you think that you have not completed or accomplished, and that is going to bring you a sense of regret. What would that be?
Well, it will be nothing because I would have accomplished everything. That's the hope, right?
What is one thing you wish you would have completed, like as in you would have done by then?
Well, I've still got at least 80 years of life left to do all those things. So these exercises are interesting because it assumes that I haven't completed everything I wanted to complete. In my mind, at that deathbed, I've completed everything.
You'll be in peace.
Yeah. Or, like Moses at 120, you just rise. There's no deathbed. You just rise to God and you go on Mount Sinai and you just ascend to the next life, right? I also don't believe that you die when you die. So I don't think it's an issue either way.
What do you believe?
Well, I just don't believe that when you die, it's all over. Yeah, I think consciousness continues. Maybe you don't have the same memories anymore because the memories are stored in our physical brain. But there's another element of consciousness that lives on. Yeah, we could talk about that, but I think we can leave it open for now.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to do another one. We often assume that someone with fame, success, wealth, and ability to bring joy to millions would naturally be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Their life looks fulfilling. Yeah. But when we look at someone like Robin Williams, who was loved by so many yet privately struggled deeply, what do you think the society misunderstands about mental health anymore?
Well, first I would say I don't have that assumption that just because you have fame, fortune, that you're automatically happy. I think actually a lot of people that have fame and success are at least somewhat driven by their unhappiness, and they're striving towards making people laugh. When I use Robin Williams' case, is part of the disorder, right? Like I think someone like him or Jim Carrey is another good example. Is from what I know is that, at least in Jim Carrey's case, his mom was so unhappy and depressed that the way to get her out of it was to make her laugh. And so the harder he worked at that craft, the more she was able to laugh and not be depressed and not be kind of in her bed. So, it drove him to be really good and really successful. And part of that might be a complex where, and I'm not sure about Robin Williams, but at least in Jim Carrey's case, you put on this mask to entertain people around you and get attention as a substitution for real connection.
So one of the things you mentioned right now is that sometimes people do certain things out of pain. How would you differentiate it? If things being done out of pain or because they're doing it because they're free and they want to do it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that if at the end of the day, it doesn't help them achieve anything like happiness or what they want,
Yeah.
and
It's
you
leaving
know,
them empty.
yeah, leaving them like unfulfilled, unsatiated, uh, then most likely they were substituting or compensating for something, or driven by a coping as opposed to the freedom of making a decision out of their own volition, out of their own free will, out of their own agency.
Mhm.
It's almost like another part of them was created at a certain point
Mhm.
because they couldn't get their real needs met, their real instinctual human social needs. So they had to find another way to get it met. It never really got it met, but it got it met more so than if they didn't develop that thing. So back to attention, if you want love and you as a kid deserve love from your mom and attention and to have a sense of my parent is proud of me and interested in me, if that's not there, and you can kind of feel dejected and give up on having any form of connection with your parent, where some people might go. But Jim Carrey goes, well, if I'm really funny, then she might smile,
And if
and
she smiles, he probably will feel love. Is that the
it's that indirect version of it. He might not feel love, but he might feel some relief from that dejection. And so then that gets reinforced, and then it gets reinforced over and over and over again. And then it gets translated into all these characters that he's able to create and all these responses and people that he's able to have. But none of those people are who he is. He's getting reinforced for these masks, for these characters, for these roles, and even him forget even the roles he has on film or TV, just himself as a character that isn't really who he is. Like if he goes on a talk show and makes someone laugh, or his friendships in his life, if he gets reinforced for this mask, oh, like people are laughing at me, they're giving me attention.
appreciation?
It's still the underlying human underneath is he's rejecting that human because that human was rejected. So it's better to get accepted for this mask than to get rejected for who he really is. But it's the lesser of two evils. It's not what he actually means.
That can be a very painful way of existing. I understand.
Well, to your question about Robin Williams, right? He didn't survive very long. He was taken way too young. And then that goes for a lot of celebrities.
A lot of other humans too.
Yeah. Yeah, but to your question about we assume they're happy because they're at the top of their game, right? But that's not always the case.
It's the mask that the people are getting appreciated. So deep within, they don't feel
That's
their
right.
appreciation or acceptance or love.
If anything, maybe it they strive towards getting it, but they never get the real happiness because you can never feel fully fulfilled for putting on a show.
Almost.
Yeah, and so as this is getting reinforced, it actually in a way might be more rejecting to the real underlying.
Do you feel that they have been to therapy and this therapy helped in these aspects?
I
You
don't
don't
know.
know
I
if
don't know
they've been
enough
in
about it.
therapy.
Yeah.
But therapy can help removing your mask, sitting with your emotions and
Sure.
helping you, right?
Yeah, a huge part of therapy is like getting reinforced for vulnerability and exposing that mask. And then when you expose it and show the real you, if your therapist is able to give you love for that, then you realize I don't need this mask anymore. And maybe even other people in my life will accept me for me and love me for me, not even just accept me, and will want to know about me for me. And so I don't always have to put on this mask. And so when I put on this mask for work, for example, I know it's just a mask because at home I have someone that will love me for me.
Well, so thank you. Let's go for the next. I have an EFT question for you. Many therapy models focus on thoughts, behaviors, or communication skills. Be it CBT, Gottman, other aspects, they focus on the skills, the communication skills. But EFT uniquely brings in love, attachment, and emotional bonds into therapy room. How does EFT understand the role of attachment in romantic relationships?
Most other modalities, I think, up until EFT, this is by Sue Johnson's own words, they didn't involve the word emotion or love or bonding or attachment.
Mm.
For couples work, at least, EFT was the first one that actually took those things into
Oh,
account, so much so that the name has emotion in it.
oh yeah.
And emotion implies experience. The goal of the model is to deepen attachment bonds, but to do so in a way where you're moving both partners, and family therapy as well, whoever is involved, into connecting from a secure place, right? And so, to your how question, it sees it as like pivotal. It's everything. Skills ignore, for the most part, that. Maybe they indirectly hit love and attachment, bonding, but they don't put it front and center. So if it indirectly ends up, improving a relationship, my view is that it indirectly hit the love, the heart, the emotions, but in EFT we focus on it. So it's not an accident why EFT works, because the main ingredient that we're after is what's the most important thing. As Sue says, attachment is from the cradle to grave. So from the moment we're born, we have to attach, and all the way until we die. How we live our life to that point, more important than anything else, is the depth of our connections in this world, our social connections.
That's true. I mean, I often reflect on this. Our life and our meaning, to a large extent, is the relationships that we have.
Yeah.
We are relational beings.
Yeah.
We cannot exist in isolation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the degree of that connection, the depth, like the neuronal, like, the myelin sheath, the thickness of that cord, determines the way in which both you relate to that other person and the way in which you relate to yourself. So if it's very thin, you relate to yourself in a very thin way. And if you have it thick, then you see yourself as healthy and as secure and as having healthy sense of self-esteem.
Yeah. So one of the key ideas in EFT is about the negative cycle that couple gets trapped in. We often help them, understand how to externalize it. We look at it, as a different entity in the relationship. Can you explain what a negative cycle is and how you help couples recognize that cycle in such a way that they're able to see that cycle as the enemy and not the partner?
Yeah. It's EFT is broken down into 9 steps and 3 stages, and the first stage consists of four steps. By the end of that first stage, our goal is to have them both know what the cycle is, like what their unique cycle is. Sometimes we give it a name, like tornado or storm or Tom and Jerry or cyclone or whatever it might be, or even just simple as our cycle or our pattern. And to be able to externalize it, like you said, and have it be the enemy. And so you graduate from that stage once you're able to both achieve the ability to get off. So imagine it's like a roller coaster that goes like this, which often it looks like that. Although it's 2 roller coasters, because we got 2 people. So we have a figure 8. We have one person begins the roller coaster of the next person, and vice versa. But it's often seen as, this is just me, and they're causing me to do this. But in reality, they're doing it to each other unconsciously. And our job is to help them see that that's what's happening, right? And once they're able to both see and get off the roller coaster together, as opposed to on their own away from each other, because that's often the cost, is disconnection, right? Then they sort of are able to graduate from stage 1 of EFT. We call that de-escalation. They went from an escalated couple to a de-escalated one. So they can do it pretty consistently to repair, and then also to understand what it is that they did. So it's not just an accident. They're able to do this consistently. One of the most important things is to reflect it back to them. What am I seeing as a therapist is happening in the room in front of me? Right?
And when you do this is being happening.
Yeah.
Do you write it down on a sheet of paper to show it to them?
Not necessarily, because the cycle can come up in a lot of different ways. The more important thing to understand is that they're lost to the cycle. So in this particular moment, you're yelling at me and you're telling me that, I'm, not being a good partner to you. And so I'm feeling criticized. So when I'm feeling criticized, then I'm going to defend myself today in this particular way and maybe insult you back. And then that's the beginning of the cycle. And as we know, this can go on for minutes to hours to days for some people, right?
Yeah.
And my job is to interject myself somewhere in there, whether we're talking about, your cycle from yesterday or what's happening in the room in front of me right here and now. And so I can write it down, I can show it to them, or I can say, hey, I just noticed you did this. And then 2 seconds later, you did that. There's a connection there, right?
Yeah.
You guys impact each other. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually an essential thing to do this work, to recognize that what I do has a way of coming back to me in a way I don't like. So I'm actually indirectly causing my next escalation move. It's not you're doing something to me that makes me escalate. It's I'm doing something that then has you do something that then comes back to me in a way that I don't like.
Yeah.
It's not meeting my needs, right?
Sometimes as I'm doing the cycle, sometimes I write it and I show it. I'm like, hey, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
So once you help the clients understand that there is a negative cycle, right? And then how do you move that space away and to stop them from blaming each other?
So blame is one form of coping in the cycle. It could be a lot of things, right? Like you mentioned Gottman. So Gottman has 4 different names for different ways of coping, right? So like stonewalling, right? And criticism. So each of these are different things that people do in order to send a signal to the other partner that they're triggered. That's really all it is at the end of the day. They're kind of screaming, I'm triggered, right? But the problem is their partner can't see that because the thing they're doing when they're triggered is our trigger.
Yeah.
And so when we're triggered and they're triggered, we can't see that the other person's triggered and that we're triggering them and that they're triggering us, right?
Yeah. One more question. EFTA has become one of the most researched approaches. Is there any area that you think EFT can focus more on? One of the things we discussed off this recording was about how to make it more accessible to people. That is one of the ideas. But how do you think it can reach out to more people?
I do think it needs to be reached out to more people. Sue herself said, she was a pretty good researcher, she was a pretty good clinician, but a marketer is not something that she was ever good at, despite writing a lot of, and also like she wrote 2 books for the mass public, for people. She wrote Hold Me Tight, she wrote Love Sense. Both of them are amazing books, right? Love Sense is a little bit more academic because it goes into all the research on attachment. But Hold Me Tight is a very good experiential book that I would recommend any couple listen or read, especially as like an activity to do together because it is very experiential, like the model. But EFT as a whole, because it's a type of therapy, and therapy in and of itself, I think, isn't marketed very well. Like when you watch therapy on TV or in a show where therapy is being represented, it's often not what therapy is. Almost always it's not. There's a lot of myths built in there. And so I think that that mixed with the stigma of getting help, mixed with the cost of going to see therapy, all these things put together, or all things going on in this world. Not just accessibility, but I think that we need different formats to get this information out there into the world. Me and you were talking about maybe finding a way to get it into children's like ears, eyes, like tactile, to get what is relationships. We don't learn any of this in school, among other things, right? We're really just kind of taught information, and so we're not taught like real life skills, whether it's business, whether it's like relationships. whether it's like what breaks down relationships. And these things I think are, in the long run, when you're an adult, way more important than learning information, right? Like we're not even taught how to learn until maybe we get into like post-secondary and learn about critical thinking, right? To challenge kind of certain viewpoints. So I think if we started earlier,
Mhm.
or even like give opportunities to parents
Mhm.
to either get assessed or to give them like access to not just information, but like the ability to see an EFT therapist
Mhm.
and get ahead of some of these issues. Because most people, when they come in for couples therapy, they're coming in when they're already in crisis, and
That's true.
the thread is very thin. A lot of the damage is already
Has been
done,
done.
and so um, they're very ready to get to do the work. But if we caught it earlier on,
They wouldn't be in that
um,
space.
they wouldn't be in that space. They would know what to do. They would know to reach out earlier. All the things that I think would be beneficial, that then would also have less impact on their children and people around them. But yeah, even just children in general, I think they would benefit a lot from learning about something like cycles in general, and how to track a cycle,
Mhm.
and attachment theory. I think would be amazing for kids to learn about, and like very like I can imagine very lively ways of learning about attachment. But I think attachment theory, especially if kids learned it in a certain way early in life, if they later found that, hey, I'm in this like weird dynamic that I learned about earlier, maybe I can get some help around it.
They'll probably get help as soon as possible.
Exactly,
And
and not
that,
wait.
yeah, and that, like you were saying, the parents, they get into a conflict, they come in for sessions towards the very end of their relationship. Usually they're in the crisis mode. And
Hmm.
that crisis mode that they're in usually creates a lot of pain in the next generation.
Hmm.
And then that
Absolutely.
that that, that carries on.
Yeah.
That carries on. When we look into the ACE questionnaire, Adverse Childhood
Yeah.
Questionnaire, when we look into it, it is usually about how their parents have been. Have there
That's
been
right.
conflicts? Where excessive factors
That's right.
happening? Yeah,
Yeah. And all this trauma just gets passed down generation to generation, and almost all trauma is relational. Either you were harmed
yeah,
or you were neglected,
yeah.
right?
That's
Either
true.
it's abandonment or betrayal. Like everything comes down to that, and
Mm.
this is all attachment, right?
Yeah.
So I think that getting some education, but then also like assessment, like what is my attachment style?
Mm.
Who would I benefit from having as a partner, as opposed to just like lackadaisically just trying to connect to whoever. And if that's driven by your attachment wounds, you're going to be in a whirlwind of pain at a certain point in life, and you're going to probably learn it
Mm.
the hard way. But maybe there's ways of preventing that, or people are in like these 20-30 year like horrible relationships that if they knew a little bit about what they were actually experiencing, maybe they would get help a little bit earlier and don't have to learn it that hard way. Maybe like hard, but not as hard, and not the cost of passing these things down to your kids or other things,
To the
right?
next generation.
Yeah,
Yeah. And we can, when you were saying this, I was thinking about, we can actually introduce these things at a very young age to kids, right?
absolutely,
And then as they grow up, we can teach them about the attachment
absolutely.
styles and everything. But talking about more accessibility, even the last time when we had the podcast, we did speak about the show that you were going to do.
Hmm.
And it's going to start shooting in September. What's update on that?
We're starting actually shooting the online session this month. I've got one online couple
July or August?
in July. Yeah,
Okay.
in July we're going to start shooting with this one couple. It'll be a remote session, but our two in-person couples will be in September, and then all three will air on the show in January.
In January.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about
Great. I'm excited for it. Been yearning to scratch that itch, and so yeah, just ready to get started.
I think that is going to give more exposure to people to see how therapy is supposed to be. Because the movies and everything, we see form of therapy in a
Yeah.
particular way, and then there are other shows that are done by therapists.
Hmm.
But there's more of, hey, do this, you got to do this, and along those lines.
Yeah, like
And
you said, there's a lot of different models out there, a lot of different therapists, and there isn't necessarily one right way to do it. But I do believe that for couples work, I think emotionally focused therapy is the gold standard. Um, there's not many couples therapy approaches that have, been around for 30 plus years, that
research.
have had these double-blind research studies. Most, like Gottman, for example, like they don't test their theory clinically as much as they are. John is a researcher. He doesn't actually test his own clinical model. So he does amazing research on couples and great predictive powers, but as a clinical model, it's very theoretical. There's no research of like, does this actually work? Does it actually help people? And so, yeah, they're not willing to put their theory up against other models.
But EFT, we have done the research, and it's 75% of the couple who have been through this process, they remain together. The success rate is quite high.
Not just remain together. So 73%, 73 get to a place where after 3-year follow-up, they're doing just as good or better than when they stopped the 12 sessions. So they got better on their own beyond it. So when they do a pre-test at session number 1, this is their level of escalation, and then they see how much better they got, right? Like more securely attached, at the end of the 12 sessions. When they follow up with them at the 3-year mark, they're doing just as good, if not better. So that's 73%. So like 3 and 4 couples are doing better.
That's huge.
It's massive. And there's nothing even that comes close to that.
Some of my clients who come from other therapists, and I'm sure you had the same experience probably, they come to me and they say, our previous therapist, couple therapist, told us that we should be separating, but we are giving it another chance. When I hear it, it breaks my heart. What comes to your mind when you're hearing it?
Yeah, it breaks my heart too, that they had to go through that experience. Now, the other side of that is, if they're in your room, they're also showing you a lot of perseverance. Their relationship persevered this feedback they got from their last couples therapist, right?
Who's a professional, who's expert.
Yeah, that might be arguable, but if they're giving that kind of feedback, I've always thought, like for me, I always praise the couple for surviving, to getting to where they're at, whether they get feedback like this or not, but especially if they're getting feedback that goes against their attachment to each other, right? And their willingness to want to make this relationship not just work, but actually thrive, right? So I praise them for surviving that and still, being willing to work on the relationship, right? It shows that like love might not be able to fix things, but love will create a determination to repair whatever is not working, right?
The relationship is very resilient.
Yes, yeah, and I think the stronger the attachment, the more resilient the relationship will be, right? It doesn't mean that it doesn't kind of correlate to the cycle. You can have 100% super attached, and because they're on opposite spectrums of their attachment from each other, they're at battle, they're at war all the time. But then when they repair, they find a way to reconnect, and that connection is buffering and is somewhat like, even if we didn't intervene, they would stay together for all their days. That doesn't mean they're happy, but it means they're attached, right? And so they're working on being happy and attached, right? But to your question, my thought has been, for the most part, around therapists that give advice like this, that you guys, so the feedback I get sometimes from couples is, you guys should do individual therapy before doing couples. That's one. You guys should break up. You guys are just not good for each other, right? That's the one I know that breaks your heart, and it does mine as well. Or, hey, you need to do XYZ before you're ready for couples counseling. So all these kinds of feedback, right, to me, says more about the therapist than it does about the couple that are in front of me.
It shows you that. What does it show you? I don't want to put words about, but what does it show you?
I think, as a generalization, each case might be different, but generally speaking, it's saying that therapist felt unequipped to deal with this couple, to work with this couple. And instead of saying, hey, like we should when we're hitting a wall or limitation or something's out of our scope, we should say, hey, I don't know how to work with this. That doesn't mean someone else can't work with you. But instead of saying something like that would be the ethical, responsible thing to do. They say, you guys are the problem. You aren't good for each other. You should do XYZ before doing couples therapy. So it's deflecting their own inadequacy of their skill set of being a couples therapist onto the couple. That's what I believe.
It's the projection.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping our audience take this, because there are a lot of our audience who are couples who are listening at this. That your relationship is not the problem. You are not the problem. If a therapist tells you that you got to break up, you probably have to find a different therapist. Find an emotionally focused therapist.
I do, yeah.
Because if you're staying, because sometimes when the couple come to me, I often tell them, when they tell me this, I'm like, and a so-called expert told you this, and yet your relationship survived.
Exactly. I think anytime, even like more globalized, anytime a therapist is telling you with any level of confidence or certainty you should do something, they're probably not a good therapist.
Yes.
Right? Where do they get the expertise to say, it's one thing to say, hey, an observation of this is where you're at, that's one thing, but to say this is where you're at and this is what you should do about it, I think that takes another level of arrogance that is taking away autonomy and agency from the client.
Yeah, because they're putting themselves in a situation of, I'll tell you what you have to do in your life.
That's right. And oftentimes it's not aligned with the client, right? If they're there, if you are there as a client trying to get help, and you're saying, I'm hiring you to try to help me on this issue of working on my relationship, and they're saying, you should not be doing that, right? They are not listening to what you're trying to do. And so, yeah, definitely find another therapist. I think
find an emotionally focused therapist.
Ideally. Ideally one that's got, a good amount of experience working with something like what you're going through. Not the specifics of it all, but that's worked with enough couples to do that, or that has EFT certification, that's gotten enough training, that's gone through the 3 levels, and that's got a good amount of experience under their belt, and that you feel like really understands your dilemma, right?
Yeah. And who helps you do that rather than saying accept.
Yeah, I think that's an easy prerequisite. Like someone that's open to working with you, I think is pretty important.
Well, good to talk to you today, Ophir. Quite excited for the show that's coming up. Thank you for giving us a brief about it. We will be meeting again. But thank you so much. Have a nice day.
You as well. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you.